Large parts of the Western Cape suffered severe damage over the long weekend as widespread flooding, landslides and rockfalls forced the closure of all major roads leading into Cape Town. Heavy rains and winds battered the Western Cape on Sunday and Monday, forcing hundreds of families to flee their flooded homes. Heavy rainfall forced several rivers to break their banks, destroying infrastructure, causing electricity outages and flooding homes and farmland in Greater Cape Town and the Overberg, Overstrand, and Winelands regions. About 2,000 families fled their shacks in Fielini after a night of pouring rain, community leader Thembisa Thuba said. She said clothes and bedding had been washed away and electrical appliances drenched. Residents have left their shacks to save their lives, she said. Thuba said she and other community leaders were opening locked but uninhabited shacks to accommodate flood victims. 8 people, including 4 children, were killed by electrocution in 2 separate events after days of heavy rain caused floods in impoverished informal settlements near the South African city of Cape Town, emergency services said on Tuesday. 4 people died in the Driftsand settlement on the eastern outskirts, the Cape Town Disaster Risk Management Service said in a statement, as the floods caused problems with electricity connections. 4 children were electrocuted and died in the Klipfontein settlement. Zukail Komani, 32, died during the storm, apparently electrocuted in floodwater in Fielini after the Quills River burst its banks. Neighbor Mxalisai Malento said he had stepped out of his flooded shack at about 6 a.m. and found Komani's body. When I saw the hood of his hooded jacket peeping out of the water, I thought it was just a jacket that had been washed away by the floods, he said. I noticed that the hood was heavy when I tried to pull it out of the water. As I continued to pull, I was shocked to see him come out of the water with his face down. He and other shack dwellers believe that Komani had come into contact with electrical wires from illegal connections hidden in the water. Malento said, when I tried to get off my bed and place my foot on the floor, I got an electric shock today. Thuba said she also got an electric shock when she broke down chains and padlocks at some shacks. We cut off all the illegal connections so that the residents could not get electrocuted when they come into contact with the rainwater, she said. She said the flood victims need blankets, food, and clothes. I have asked spaza shop owners to give the flood victims food because they are hungry, she said. Thuba said the rains are so heavy that the methods the shack dwellers used before, such as trenches to divert the water, no longer work. We are used to floods, but the ones we are experiencing now are worse than the previous ones. Yandisa Sono woke up when a community leader shouted to shack dwellers that water was moving into shacks at about 3 a.m. My shack was already flooded, so I just took out my ID, closed the door and left, he said. Sono said his grocery, bed, cupboard, and electrical appliances were all wet. Daniel Malekwa, who lives with her 7-year-old daughter, said rainwater was knee-high when she woke up at about 4 a.m. She rushed out without any change of clothes. In Sayalala informal settlement, along the Transnet railway line, in Dunoon, the rain swelled a blocked sewage system, sending a filthy river into nearby shacks. Anil Marinksa, a 31-year-old mother of 3, says she woke up to a bad smell in the one-room shack she shares with her husband and 3 children. She and her husband set to work trying to scoop out the filthy water. Community leader Zukiswa Kavakati said 5 families had come to her house early in the morning to ask for help, but she had told them there was nothing she could do. Other informal settlements in Dunoon, Kyalaka, Philippi, and Strand were also hard hit by floods. Many homes in the poor townships on the outskirts of South Africa's second biggest city have makeshift electricity connections, with people hooking their houses or shacks up to existing power lines themselves. They are illegal and dangerous, but relatively widespread. A storm front hit the Cape Town area and the larger Western Cape province for 3 days, causing rivers to burst their banks and flood residential areas and major roads, both in coastal regions and inland. Hundreds have been evacuated. Outages caused by the weather left more than 80,000 customers across the province without electricity, the national power utility said, that had been reduced to 15,000 by Tuesday. As the rain eased, local officials said 3 people died after they were swept away by floodwaters in the mainly agricultural region of Overberg, just over 100 kilometers, 60 miles, east of Cape Town. The area is one of South Africa's most important wheat farming regions, and there were fears of major damage to crops and infrastructure from the flooding. Storms caused by cold fronts are common in the Cape Town region and the Western Cape province. A cold front in June caused around $50 million of damage to the agriculture sector in the Western Cape, according to the provincial government. Western Cape traffic authorities say several road closures remain in place in the province due to widespread flooding and damage to infrastructure. Many commuters have been stranded and some displaced residents have been accommodated in community halls. There have been heavy rainfall and strong winds since Sunday. They have wreaked havoc in a number of areas. The officials are attending to several incidents of fallen trees and rockfalls across the province. The N2 highway at Batrovere has been cut off after part of the road was washed away, making traveling to and from Cape Town impossible. Towns such as Breedstorp, Hermanus, Struisby, and De Doorns have recorded heavy rainfall. The inclement weather has displaced hundreds of people. The South African Weather Service had issued a level 9 warning of disruptive rain and gale force winds. The N2 was closed at Batrovere after floods washed away the bridge, with traffic being diverted at Swellendam. The N1 between De Doorns and Worcester was also closed with traffic being diverted via Wolseley, Ceres, and Tromsburg Pass. The City of Cape Town Disaster Risk Management spokesperson Charlotte Powell said the rain should start subsiding by Monday evening, but very high winds would continue for 3 hours. Meanwhile, the residents were evacuated from a retirement village in Somerset West and 170 people were moved to a hall in Sir Lowry's Pass village. The emergency teams also assisted with evacuations from Fort and Sandley in Macassar. Residents indicated that they will seek shelter with friends and family, she added. A group of people was reported trapped at the Kogo Bay Resort as a result of roads being closed on both sides, leading to Gordons Bay and Ruels. The Provincial Disaster Risk Management Center assisted the city in rescue efforts. Flooding affected numerous informal settlements across the city. Initial assessments indicated that more than 1,000 homes were impacted. Sand and milling has already started being distributed to assist affected communities, while a number of humanitarian relief agencies are assisting with meals, blankets, and other supplies, like baby packs, Powell said. Homes were also flooded in Durbanville, Bokap, Skopkrol, Belleville South, Belhar, Sandley and Macassar, Strand, Gordons Bay, Norhoek, Scottsdene, and Hout Bay. A house in Sir Lowry's Pass village showed signs of collapsing, she added. Agri-Western Cape CEO Jannie Strydom said it will take a week or 2 to assess the damage done to farms. It is difficult at this stage to estimate the extent of the damage. For now, it seems most of the damage is to infrastructure such as buildings, dirt roads, and low water bridges, he said. Grain farmers in the Western Cape, who produce about half of all the wheat grown in South Africa, are approaching the harvest season. Strydom said the barley and wheat harvests are still about 4 to 5 weeks away in most regions. He hopes that the damage to these crops is minimal and that it will not be necessary to postpone harvests. He is more concerned about the canola harvest, and some parts of the province farmers have already started cutting canola so that it can dry out for harvesting. The quality of these crops could be adversely affected if farmers are unable to access the fields within the next week or 2. We have also received some reports of losses of small stock. It is lambing and shearing season, so the cold, wet weather poses a real danger for the sheep, Strydom said. Western Cape Transport and Public Works Department spokesperson Jandre Bakker told Business Day that full assessments will follow once the weather system passes. But the road closures will result in significant additional travel times via alternative routes and cause traffic congestion on certain routes. The most significant challenge is the N2 at Batrovere, which has washed away and is impassable. In a media briefing on Monday afternoon, Provincial Disaster Management Center acting head Shap Karsten said the center and all its entities have been preparing days in advance. "We have never had a storm like this before," Karsten said. He said that all informal settlements in Greater Cape Town have been affected by flooding to some degree. Western Cape Development and Planning Mech Anton Brettel said emergency teams are focusing on saving lives. "The hard work of our teams over a number of years in preparing for emergencies such as these has also been demonstrated in how we have responded," he said. Imtiaz Suleiman of Gift of the Givers said the organization has been asked to help provide flood assistance where roads have been washed away and communities evacuated. The rainfall station in Franschhoek recorded a whopping 299 millimeters of rainfall on Sunday from a storm that battered the Western Cape over the long weekend, according to the South African Weather Service. The South African Weather Service spokesperson Robin Lee Batty said it was the highest figure recorded on Sunday. It warned that widespread flooding, severe thunderstorms, gale-force winds and rough seas could be expected. The Overberg, Cape Winelands and Garden Route were the worst affected and parts of Cape Town were drenched. Over a 24-hour period between Sunday and Monday, parts of the Overberg region received up to 170 millimeters of rain. Stellenbosch in the Winelands district recorded 133 millimeters and 92 millimeters of precipitation was recorded at the Royal Yacht Club in Cape Town. On Sunday, the Western Cape government activated the Provincial Disaster Management Center after an update from the South Africa Weather Service confirmed that the approaching storm would be more severe than had previously been communicated. The Weather Service upgraded its warning from level 6 to an orange level 9, warning of disruptive rain and gale-force winds, the highest the province has yet seen. A status orange warning is given before expected weather conditions that could significantly affect people, property and activity in an area.